breathe down your neck. That is the block party.
Hudson finishes off Kentucky.
Purdue gets to celebrate. They take down number 3.
And the Boilers have done it. They advance to the Sweet 16 for the 5th.
Welcome back to the Dig City podcast. I'm Corey Palm. He's head coach Dave Shondell. And Coach, it was a really exciting match last Friday in Lincoln. It was a really exciting day last Saturday in Iowa City. You got a good win against the Hawkeyes and a tough loss in one of the best matches of the season in college volleyball Friday night. Let's start there. Okay. How did you like your team's approach going into that match? Were they where you wanted them to be mentally headed into the Devaney Center?
Yeah, I think a couple things, Corey, on that topic. And we've discussed this before, maybe more off the air than on the air, but I don't think we've been that good most of the season compared to where I feel like this team could be. Mm-hmm. Some of that was some minor injuries, slowing us down a little bit. The inability to train as hard as we want to because we don't have the kind of depth that we normally have, just because we had some odd injuries that came late in the spring and summer a year ago that kind of put us behind the 8 ball. Mm-hmm. But we kind of shifted gears a little bit and picked up the training pace and raised expectations a little bit and got healthier. And I think you saw us play last weekend and a little bit against Michigan State on that prior, whatever day that was, a Sunday. Maybe. Yeah. I think you saw us starting to play like the team that I believe we can. We have 2 exceptional pin attackers on the left side, and Chacoin and Hudson, and they really hadn't played at the kind of level that I think that they want to play at. And a lot of that is, I think we did talk about this, we've been trying to get other people involved. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that's been great because we got a really good Raven Colvin, we got a very, very good Kenna Wolder, and we've got Lourdes Myers making great progress right now. And, to have 5, if you're running a 5-1 offense, and to have 5 attackers that you feel the setter feels great confidence in that can put balls away and are playing with the right look on their face, then you've got a good thing. Mm-hmm. And I think as we prepared for Nebraska last week, you could see it all week long that our guys were ready. We don't fear Nebraska, even though they have a tendency to win about every match they play, it seems like. There's no fear in them. We felt like we should have beat them a year ago, and then we felt like we should have beat them this year. Mm-hmm. All the numbers indicate that, but we've got to find a way to close the door on and that's the thing. A team wins so much that they know how to win. And they found a way to win, and we didn't close the door there in the 5th when we had the opportunity.
Definitely had that one match point after just fending off Nebraska's first match point to score 2 in a row there and just be so close. It's got to be tough to swallow. But I know you generally focus.
You don't have a lot of time to deal with it.
No, that's true.
I mean, it was a tough night and tough early morning. Mm-hmm. But then you've got to turn the switch. And the players have got to turn the switch. Yeah. And we had to get ready for an Iowa team that gave us all we wanted. And we knew that they would, and they always do. But I was really proud of the way we played against Nebraska, and I was just as proud of the way we played against Iowa because Iowa had some people really going off. I mean, they got a left-handed freshman out of Hawaii that is a heck of a player. Yeah. And she was a handful for us. And, I mean, again, you prepare all week for one team and how they play and who their hitters are and what kind of shots they hit and what trajectory they're hitting shots at and what their setter looks like and all these different things. Yeah. And then you play somebody totally different.
Completely.
We didn't see a left-hander, against Nebraska. And we really haven't seen many left-handers all year, to be honest. But we saw one and didn't handle it very well. Mm-hmm. So I just felt like Jim Barnes had his team ready to play. It was the ultimate trap match for us, but our team really gutted it out, and that's all you can ask for.
Well, it's not the same Iowa team we've seen in recent past. They're 9-9 on the season. They're 3-3. They're a game behind you guys in the Big Ten standings. Right. You've been in the top 10 all season. Right. Iowa's been in the lower half of the conference for several years, but they're right there. They've improved dramatically.
Well, and I mentioned this, I think, in the press conference on Monday, everybody is going to be difficult to beat this year. I mean, everybody. And it's just fair warning for all teams in our league and all teams at Purdue. This new conference is different.
Yeah.
And, you don't play people twice with the exception of 3 opponents. And if you're not ready to play them the first time, you'll get beat, and then you won't have another shot at them. It's over. And so you've got to be ready. You've got to do a great job of scouting your opponents, getting your players prepared, and being your very, very best that first time. And again, I mean, we haven't done a great job of it. We were not prepared for Penn State. We played poorly against Penn State. It was a debacle. But ever since then, okay, I've been pretty happy with the way our team has locked into preparation, has trained hard during the week, and this week will be no exception.
No doubt. I had a tactical question I wanted to ask. I've been thinking about this one since Friday night against Nebraska. I think I know what your answer is going to be, but I want to hear it anyway because I'm wrong a lot. Statistically, sort of across the board in that match against Nebraska, you had the advantage. More efficient attack, more efficient block, better passing, better serve receive, everywhere except for service aces, or service errors, I should say.
Yeah. Serving in general.
Serving in general. And I know that's, a point of emphasis. We've talked about it a lot this season. And I know that you've said a lot to me off air that serving tough isn't always going for aces. It's putting balls in tough spots to return and take someone out of system. That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what was going on Friday night when you're trying to hit spots and just barely missing?
Maybe.
Okay.
I'd have to get into the minds of our athletes a little bit more. I felt like, number one, against Nebraska, on paper, they're the best serve receive team in the country. They don't give you anything, and they passed pretty well that night. All right, both teams passed well that night, which is why both teams hit at a very high percentage.
Very high, yeah.
You look at set number 5, and I'll get back to your question. But you look at set number 5, we were 13 for 26 with no errors and got beat.
Right.
13 for 26, no errors in set 5. You're going to win that 99% of the time with those numbers. This time we didn't because we had 4 service errors right out of the gate and kind of put us in a bad situation. But I think with them, you can't put players in that environment very often where they're playing and big reds on their feet and making lots of noise. And again, we have some experienced players that have been back there and serving. We got some extremely tough competitors, but we're also putting some young people on the floor that have not been in that environment ever before.
Right.
Okay, and it wasn't just them that were having some serving problems, but they certainly had some, and I think they'll learn from that. And I think we'll be better because of the fact that we went up there and played in that environment and went toe to toe with a team that could have been ranked number 1 in the country this year. I think they were 2. Despite Pitt getting beat, because there's 2 teams right now that seem to be head and shoulders above everybody, if you consider them being head and shoulders above us,
right,
after what you just watched. So, but they're a good team, and I'm just happy we got out of Iowa with that win, because it would have been a nightmare had we not found a way to win that one.
Definitely. We've got a nice little stretch at home. We haven't been able to say that yet this year.
No.
4 straight here in West Lafayette.
Well, let's talk about that. It means we've had 12 out of our first 17 on the road, and this team has held up pretty well.
Yeah.
I think that you have to give credit to your team when they deserve it. And you could lose your mind spending that much time on the road, especially against the schedule that we played. Our schedule's been very, very tough. But we've done all right. We've got 4 losses against number 2 Nebraska, number 3 Penn State, number maybe 6 Creighton, and number 8 Kansas, I think it is. Should have won some of those.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that, fans. I get that. We could have and should have won a couple of those. But it's a work in progress, and everybody's holding together pretty well on our side. So, bring on UCLA.
That's all we can ask. We're going to talk about UCLA right after the break. The Dig City podcast is brought to you by Franciscan Health, the official medical provider of Purdue Athletics. At Franciscan, we are inspiring health. Now back to the show. All right, Coach, UCLA Bruins hit Beelan Court on Thursday night. That is tomorrow night. We're taping this on Wednesday morning. So what can you tell us about UCLA? They come in 8-7 on the year.
They played a good schedule. Their early non-conference or early Big Ten play docket's been really tough. They did beat Washington at Washington, which was a good win for them. They have 2 or 3 good wins on the season. I think they're very athletic. 2 outside hitters have got really, really good arms. They made life really tough on USC on Sunday. They had an 8-5 lead at the turn against USC at the Galen Center at Southern Cal, and let that get away from them pretty quick. So I know they weren't very happy about that because they were in complete control of winning that match against a really good SC team. But their outsides are very athletic. They've got a right side player who did not play very well in the match against SC, but has been kind of their best pin hitter on the season. So we know that she'll be better when we play them on Thursday night. They got a 6-year player in the middle named Dodson, that 6'5", nice player. She's been all Pac-12 last couple of seasons, so you got to pay a lot of attention to her. And then they got a couple of options. Another girl named Dodson. They got 2 Dodsons. One's actually from Chicago that had started a lot early in the season, and now they've got another middle that's in her place right now that has started here lately. So we could see either one of them. Their setter does a nice job. They're playing more defensive players now than they were early. That was a change they made just last weekend. They were trying to play their left sides all the way around, kind of like what we do, but they weren't having as much success ball control-wise with that, so they've gone to some DSs, which probably is a good idea based on the hitting percentages that they were giving up, during the early part of the season. So they're talented, really good staff. Alfie Reft is a member of our USA coaching staff. He's assistant coach, kind of in charge of defense. He was a great libero in his day. Played on the USA team as a libero, so he understands that. Great guy. Players love him. So it'll be nice to have that staff here. And they have never been to Purdue before. UCLA has never played at Purdue. And so it'll be an exciting time, I think, for us. And I mentioned, as you were at the press conference, that when you grew up when I did, UCLA dominated volleyball. Whether it was men's or women's, it was all about UCLA. And going out to UCLA and finding a UCLA volleyball T-shirt was a pretty big deal, when I was a kid. So they'll always be held in high esteem with me. Andy Banikowski was a women's coach back then. Al Skates, the Wizard of Westwood, was the men's coach, and both are legendary. Both I know Al has got the most wins of any men's coach, and Banikowski's got to be maybe second to Russ Rose, maybe. I haven't done the math on that one. But it's just legendary status when you're with UCLA, and it will be fun to play them, and we'll have to be very well prepared for them. But I think that we're off to a good start this week.
That's good. And then I mentioned that's Thursday night. Saturday, we finally get to turn our attention to the match in Mackey, the first of 2 matches in Mackey. IU comes to town for that match. It's got to be nice to be this close to actually seeing it come to fruition after months of build-up.
Yes, and we have to be really careful, that we can't put that match ahead of the other one, and we're not.
No.
It's a beautiful thing that's UCLA that's coming in on Thursday, because nobody's going to look past the Bruins. So, a lot of focus on making sure that we're ready for that. We are trying to get some practice time in Mackey. We feel pretty comfortable that we know how to play in Holloway Gym.
Sure, yeah.
Right? But this week we're trying to get a couple of opportunities to sneak in and get at least an hour in Mackey Arena when basketball is not using that facility. But and today will be an opportunity that we do get some time in there. But it's 2 great matches, 2 teams that right now recognize that they're in the 30s or 40s RPI. Have a chance to make the NCAA tournament, but it's a tough road in this league. I think there are some leagues, Corey, that schedule to help teams get into the NCAA tournament. We schedule to get a true champion.
Yeah.
So, there's 2 ways of looking at it. And in years past, traditionally, the Big Ten has gotten our fair share of people in the NCAA tournament, so we haven't worried about that. My concern will be, will that happen now? When you add 18 teams, I don't think anybody has any idea how this is going to work. You're going to have those 32 automatic qualifiers, and then you're going to have 32 at-large bids that will be given out. And You have to be 500 to begin with to get in. But it's just going to be interesting. Right now we have, I think, maybe 7 teams in the top 25 this week. I'd have to double check it.
Let me pull that up right now.
I mean, teams, Washington was not in it at the end. UCLA's not in it. Illinois is not in it. I don't think, obviously, Indiana's not in it right now. But
So we've got Nebraska 2, Penn State at 3, Wisconsin 9, Purdue 10, Oregon 11, Minnesota 14, Southern Cal 16. So that's 7 teams in the top 16.
yeah,
And then that's it.
That's it. And there's some right on the cusp
Right.
of trying to get in. But it's going to come down to a committee making decisions, and those decisions traditionally have all been about RPI. And so, you can look at that AVCA poll all you want to. It's not going to mean a hill of beans
For sure.
to anybody on that committee. So it's going to all come down. Like our RPI right now this week is 15. I mean, we're ranked 9th, okay, by 60 college coaches. But the RPI right now, yet early, has us at 15. And we have to improve that.
Yeah.
And you do that one way, win matches.
Win matches.
The other thing that's going to help us, and I believe this, is our non-conference schedule. When those teams get into league play, case in point, UMBC, okay, scheduled super tough. I mean, they're not a mid-major, they're a small major. Be a way I would describe that.
Yeah,
okay,
definitely.
And they've been in the tournament the last 2 or 3 years. Good team, excellent coach, but they got beat up in non-conference. They might have won 1 match or 2 matches in non-conference. So they look really bad as an opponent on our RPI docket. But now they get into their league play where they unfortunately only play about 14 league matches, but they're going to win probably all those. So they're going to get better. That's going to help us. I think Kansas State's going to do better in conference play than they did in non-conference. UC Davis might do that. Utah State should do that. So I think that we'll get help by some of those teams as we move in and start really eyeballing the RPI.
Well, we saw that happen last week, specifically with Utah. They jumped from receiving votes all the way up to 20 with a couple sweeps over ranked teams.
They beat TCU and they beat Baylor.
They beat Baylor,
who are 2 good teams. And I said, pat myself on the back here on your show, that Utah was good and they were talented. And I thought we went in and swept them at their place. And I thought that was a pretty good win because I looked at them in warm-up and I said, these guys have more arms than we do. They had about 14 people in that hitting line just bombing balls. And I was just hoping we'd get out of there alive. And fortunately we did. But now they've steadied their things out. I think they've only got 2 losses on the season and some good wins.
Yeah, they've only lost once since they saw you guys. And they're going to keep climbing. They keep playing that well. Let's see. I wanted to talk about the 2 matches this week. I wanted to talk about the national picture and sort of what the Big Ten looks like right now. Specifically with IU, you mentioned UCLA already. The little scouting report on the Hoosiers. I know they're tougher than they've been, and I know they ended a long streak last year that was probably weighing heavy in their minds and certain point of pride for this program. So getting that streak growing again has got to be important to you.
Just getting the one.
Yeah.
We just focus on one. And again, UCLA Thursday, Indiana in Mackey Arena on Saturday at 7 o'clock. 14,800 people have already bought tickets for that match. And we need them to be loud and proud. And I know our student section is going to be ready to go. But we have to have everybody come in and understand what an incredible opportunity that is going to be for our team to play in front of that environment. But I think the thing that impresses me most about Indiana is just their toughness. They've got Steve Aird did a really good job of finding some really good competitors, and they've got some experience to go with that. Their setter is probably their go-to player, probably their most significant athlete on that team. Cam Hayworth is her name, just a really, really good setter. She's left-handed. She scores points offensively at the net. She scores points with her jump serve. She's one of the best top-spin jump servers in the country. They've got 2 other top spinners, a kid named Daphne, and then a kid that transferred in was a beach player on the West Coast that's also serving the top spin jumper. So that's something you have to prepare for when you play them. They got a left side hitter that is an international kid. I think she's a senior. She's playing really well. I don't can't pronounce her name. I know that the local radio station, the local affiliate does the streaming, calls her CAC, so that's kind of how I've been referring to her. But she's playing at a really high level. They got a bazooka on the right side, and kid name, I think her name is Tatum, that transferred from Cincinnati a couple years ago, and she's somebody you have to pay considerable attention to. I just think that that they've got it going right now with this team. They do have some key seniors on that roster, so they'll have to reload next year a little bit. But this is this year, and they're fighting for their lives, NCAA lives. I think that they believe that they're an NCAA tournament team if they can play at their level. But we play them twice.
Yep.
We play them here, and then we'll go down there and play them, and they beat us down there a year ago. So they know they can compete with us and play with us, and I think that who's going to respond to this big crowd and this big environment will have the advantage in this one.
Does having played just last week at Nebraska in front of a raucous crowd help some of the younger players in your squad?
I think it should.
Yeah.
I think playing in big venues and playing in front of big crowds, and we've played in some big venues this year already, but the noise, the expectations, what's that like, should be important as we play in this match. So I think playing at Nebraska was a timely prep for this, and the fact that we really didn't let that crowd bother us too much, and they were all against us.
Yeah, that's true. Big difference there.
Yeah, and I think most of this crowd, I'm sure there'll be some red that will be in this venue, whether you like that or not. But they have a right to be here if they bought a ticket and they're helping support our program. That's great. So, but it'll be a great environment, and one I think that everybody that has pride in our Purdue program is looking forward to. For
sure. One last note before we get away for this week's show. Annie Drews is inducted into the Purdue Athletics Hall of Fame in a ceremony this coming Friday. She'll be back in town. I know she's catching a couple long flights to get here for that ceremony, and she'll be able to take in some of the action this weekend too.
Well, I would like to think you'll have a camera on her at some point in time with some interviews of some kind. Either that or our volleyball expert will be doing that. But no, Annie will get in tomorrow. She's going to work out in our gym around noon. Danielle Catino is also going to be up here getting a little bit of a workout. I think maybe Amanda Neal is going to also be in the gym. She's not playing at a professional level at this point. She's nursing down in Indianapolis, which is great. But no, it'll be fun to have. We got our alumni match. Means we're going to have about 40 former Purdue players will be here with their family and friends. But Annie will be here, and I'm looking forward to being part of that banquet. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to be there for it with everything we have going on that Friday, getting ready for the Hoosiers.
Yeah.
But I do want to be part of that, and I know she's looking forward to being back here. She's only been back one time in the last several years, and but the Hall of Fame's a big deal. And I try to make that really clear in a phone call with her just the other day. You don't understand what a big deal it is to get into a Big Ten university's Hall of Fame, and certainly she earned it, both with what she did while she was here and then what she has done. The notoriety that Annie Drews has brought to us and the representative that she is of Purdue University, you can't buy that.
No.
There's not enough money in our volleyball budget, to buy what she has done for Purdue volleyball and Purdue University. So all you can do is say thank you. When that happens, somebody just is that classy of a representative and wins medals, and is actually, I think she was one of the highest point scorers in the history of the Olympics in volleyball. So she's a real deal, and she's going to be playing up in Madison in the new pro league up there. So her career will continue. But I know she's looking forward mostly just to having some fun when she comes in here. And she's going to talk to our team as well this week, which I every time she talks, I'm more and more impressed with who she is.
Well, she's always been impressive and comes from great stock and has gotten really good leadership along the way throughout her career. So congrats to Annie, and can't wait to catch up with her a little bit this week.
Yeah, big week for our volleyball program, and I just hope that our athletes are as ready as I think they will be.
Yep.
I think that we're over the hump. It was a struggle, just getting people through, getting them to where they felt really good about who they were, both physically and emotionally. And we got a lot of people playing at a high level. We're starting to pass the ball extremely well, which is a huge thing in this sport. So I think we'll be prepared, and we're looking forward to crowds coming out and packing both our venues this weekend.
Can't wait to see it. Good luck, Dave.
All right, boiler up.
Boiler up.